Joe, I can't hear you. I can't hear.
What now?
I can't hear you.
What?
I can't hear you. Yeah, there we go.
Oh, okay.
So what you've got there, that's headphones. That's what we call headphones and a microphone.
okay.
You need to wear those.
Put them on.
Don't
so
worry,
you
it's
can-
just your
so
bottom
you can
SE.
Yeah, it's not it's not a big deal. I only have like 1,200 subscribers that might see this, so it's not a huge deal. I'm not like influencer status or anything right now, but I think what I would want to say and ask you is, dear Kristen, can you merge MBTI and faith? I know, like with Enneagram, there is like very clearly a religious element to it. And I think it's like Seventh Day Adventists. I don't know. I think they do that in their like retreats and stuff. But from your point of view with MBTI, does faith align with it? Is there a place for it? Can you merge them? Do they intertwine at all?
Wow, this question's so left field, but I appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, in case anyone doesn't know, I mean, you do surely if you click this video. I am Christian myself, and I don't make that subtle on my channel. Got all these subtle crosses and statues and
Well, yeah, and also like I always try to stop whenever you're by a bookshelf. I always try to see like, is there what books, like someone's going to give it away, and you're good at like not putting them. I don't know. You probably do look in the background and be like, what's exactly in the background? Because I'm always trying to find something.
Yeah, it's so funny because a lot of the shots that I've taken have been with my housemate's books in the background. She's like 3 huge bookshelves and she's an ENTJ, and like the amount of people in the comments who have been like, the most surprising thing to me is the fact that you have like the entire encyclopedia, like Oxford collection or something. And I'm like, not mine.
Not just a hat rack, my friend.
My bookshelf's tiny. I only have a few books, but the collection is growing. Anyway, yes, I do think that MBTI and faith are compatible. I think specifically a deeper understanding about MBTI, so like that, the understanding of the cognitive functions. I think if you're kind of just going by the 8 letters, and like the very superficial understanding of what MBTI is, you like, it kind of creates this idea that these are these like strict dichotomies between these letters. And if you don't use one, if you use one, you don't use the other at all. I love your active listening nods, your active listening nods. You're like following, you're like,
I have noticed with my active listening that it's not always it's not always on time and in tune with the person saying. So they'll like be not needing a confirmation, and I'll be like, and I'll be like, and so it's like, damn, I gotta really fix this.
It's like I ask you a question and you're like,
You're like, yeah. So Joe, what do you think about this? Oh yeah, so totally, yes, I agree. And you're like,
exactly.
And you're like,
yeah.
My wife has very much chastised me for my auto responses.
Oh, I see. Interesting.
Yeah, exactly. No, we can do that. Yeah, let's book it. Let's do it. And then I realize I've confirmed something that I don't want to do later. And
classic. Classic. Well, now you're going to be hyper aware going forward. You're going to be like, what nods am I doing? What faces? And if you weren't going to be, now you're going to be. Ruined that for you.
Okay.
You're
Continue
great.
with your answer.
Okay. How to get on an INTJ's nerves 101. Yeah, so I think, if you were understanding it as the 8 letters, it'd be problematic. But I think the functions and the very fact that you use all of the functions is really good, because there's, as humans, we have like infinite potential for good. We have potential for bad and good. But if we are seeking virtue, and if we're seeking to develop ourselves, and I like that the MBTI community and the cognitive functions theories like promote developing those lower functions, or being in tune with those functions, or seeing how they come out. And as in Christianity, we literally believe in loving one another as I have loved you, right? Like the new commandment, like the most important, the golden rule, right?
Right.
And to love others, you have to understand, you have to endeavor to understand them.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. We're getting words now.
Well, I think I know where she's going with this. And yeah, that is exactly it. And I think, I don't know if that's like new, gosh, I don't even know how you want to say it. New age religion where it's love one another. Because I always feel like when I went to Catholic school, it was like fire and brimstone type of like there's us and there's them. So I think that maybe what you're saying through MBTI, it's like learning to, like, you can love an SI user if you're an NI user, and there's worth to them, just as like all people have worth.
And specifically as well, like MBTI doesn't say that a ESFP isn't capable of accessing that N side to them. We are all capable of using all the functions and presenting the fruits of all the functions in our personality, which is like quite consistent with the faith, because we believe that we can all become, like, we all have access to, like, access. Such a weird way to put it. We can all be virtuous. You can all get.
Oh, okay. That you said like access. You get there.
No. I mean, on like in growth in virtue, we can all attain all of the virtues. If we endeavor. I think the functions point to certain virtues that might be more natural to us, and vices that might be more natural. But I like that it's not like, okay, if you're an S, you can't be an N. That would be quite, like, I'd take issue with that as a Catholic, I think. But it's and I love that MBTI, especially when you're thinking about it as like a tool for growth and understanding. It takes you out of yourself, and so you're focusing on other people and less on yourself. Except you're focusing yourself, obviously, to grow. But that self-growth and that focus on self means that you are going to become more yourself. MBTI encourages you to, like, accept those qualities about yourself that maybe the world tells you are weird, like me, being an ESFP and liking performing means that I'm, an attention seeker or whatever, which it's more so I like to entertain people. And cognitive functions have helped me to see that that's a beautiful quality. And in accepting that about myself and my God-given personality, which is beautiful, I can go out of myself and endeavor to understand, accept others.
And I think that I actually have a book. It's buried back there, but it's like called Carl Jung and Christian Spirituality. And he did a lot of work. I mean, because his type stuff is like this, and then all the other stuff is like way out here. And he did a lot more than just personality type, but he endeavored to I don't even know if he tried to use personality type and spirituality, but he wrote a book called like Response to Job, like just a whole book.
Job. What a book.
And he wrote a book on his response to him. So I'm like, clearly Jung, the father of this tool that we use, was very into religion, spirituality, and things like that. So
do you know do you remember the essence of his response to the Book of Job?
Didn't read it.
Yeah, you just know it's there.
I just know another ENTP friend of mine who really knows everything about Carl Jung read that, and she had it on her bookshelf. I was like, what is this? Like, I've never heard it. She's like, you don't know this? Like, you're not a Carl Jung fan.
That's fascinating. That's very interesting.
But the fact that
Book of Job is a banger. It's one of my favorites.
Oh, it's one of the good ones. Okay, so that makes it even more like of a better story about how type and spirituality and Christianity specifically do have a linking through Jung in a way.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Potentially, I don't know what he was saying. Like, he might have been trashing the Book of Job.
Yeah, no one knows what Carl was saying. His stuff is tough to read, but like, in a more practical way, or just like what I'm interested in, I think my audience and your audience would be interested in this. Like, for those that like follow you religiously, do you think that there's been what's the reaction been from your fan base regarding Christianity or you being Christian? Has there been anything, or is it just like, great, me too?
Yeah, I really, really love the community on my YouTube channel, and I was there was an element of me that was like nervous to maybe mention it, you know, which I think is a very normal thing to consider when you're putting yourself out there on a platform.
Yeah.
But I always knew that if I was going to be putting myself out there, it would inevitably be part of whatever I'm doing, because it's such an integral part of who I am and my life. And yeah, I remember the first time that like a cross made its way into like like one of my shots. This one. And I had this brief moment where I was like, oh, there's a cross in this shot. And then like just instinctively I was like, oh, should I take it down? And then I was like, I would hate myself if I took this down. Of course I'm not going to take this down. And then that was it. Like that was pretty much the only sort of thought I had about it. And from there I was like, yeah, I'm just going to like own this. This is like, I have these things around my house. It's not like I put them up. They're in the background. I'm very proudly Catholic. And if people are going to get to know me, like I think authenticity is important, especially given the message that I'm trying to portray on the channel and talk about, you know, MBTI and growth and stuff. So I was like, it's just got to be a part of it. And over time, I did start to get comments like, oh, you're a Christian as well. I am too. It was mostly other Christians who were commenting. Yeah. And then on my Instagram as well, I'd get really lovely messages from people anytime I mentioned my faith on there.
Yeah.
And then when I did the 1 year video, like it was kind of all stuff in the background. And then when I did the 1 year on YouTube video, I like overtly mentioned my relationship with God for like the first time on my channel. And then there were people in the comments. I remember there was a guy who's a regular commenter, who's great. And he was like, oh, you're Christian? I didn't know that. And I was like, didn't notice all of the stuff in the background, the crosses. And he was like, nope, I'm an INFP.
There you go.
Sweet. But yeah, I definitely engage in conversations with people who aren't Christian as well. And they often are, of course, but they are often very respectful of my faith and my beliefs. And I have been very pleasantly surprised about that. And I think I've thought about it, and I think it's because the community is really like the stuff we're interested in, right? Cognitive functions, MBTI, self-growth, those kind of things are about that interior journey and seeking something greater within ourselves, seeking to understand ourselves. Understanding is something greater, right? Understanding of self, seeking to grow, seeking to be virtuous, achieving that higher self, right? So I guess maybe it makes sense that they are more open-minded and understanding of people who are religious. I don't know, like.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Did you, I have this vague like memory. Did you do an interview with ISTJ Catholic?
Yeah.
What's
Catholic gaming nerd.
Catholic gaming nerd. Okay. How was that? I did not see it, but I saw it somewhere. How'd it go? Was that a good discussion?
Yeah, I love that. That was nice. It was so cool to have a chat with someone who also is proudly Catholic online. And, you know, Paul really knows his faith, and he's also he doesn't like shove it in people's faces, which I think people like and respect about him. And I mean, I've seen on Rational Typology's page that they did like Gabriel and him did it.
Yeah.
They had a chat about religion, which was really cool. So
yeah, that's interesting because I kind of, you know, he's an ISTJ, Gabriel's an INTJ. I just have to make this, you know, the connection between, you know, what types are more prone to faith or atheism or whatever, or spirituality. And like that, I'm always reminded of like very famous INTJ Nietzsche, who is like, God is dead and we killed him, which is not an anti-religion quote. It's just a, like, we have gotten away from our Christian roots type deal. Like, we've killed God. That's our, like, not like, oh, this is like all the atheists use it. Like, yeah, see, Nietzsche said it. Like, no, misinterpret it. But that was a tangent for me. What do you see more certain types being more prone to faith and or atheism?
Interesting question. I do not. I think to say that more types are prone to faith would be to deny the universality of the relationship with God that we are all being called to. And I think, you know, faith is ultimately, it's not your ability to read books, it's not your ability to intellectually engage. It's it's an element of seeking a relationship with the living God. And we are all capable, and faith is the way that God speaks to us and engages with us, is something we all can experience. And if faith was static, like if it was just dogma and books and stuff, I can understand how it would appeal to more types or certain types, but it's not. Like, it's a relationship, so there's movement, there's responsiveness on our part and on God's part. And God also, like, he meets people where they are. He doesn't wait for you to get to a certain point of intellectual, whatever, or, there's a very, the idea, I guess, that the way that I see it is there's a very specific God-shaped hole in every person's heart. And you're a very, very uniquely shaped jigsaw piece in the grander scheme of things. And
love that.
Like he's God, so he's not, like, anytime we try and understand him, I'm like, yo, come on. And I mean, you look like, okay, there are a lot of, I guess, I think maybe if there are people writing books about like atheism or things like that, or maybe people, you'd have your MTs who might be more prone to think about things like that and churn that content out. Whereas, if a ESFP such as myself didn't believe in God, and I had time myself where I was away from the faith, I wasn't going out and writing books or like even talking about it with people. I was like, okay, this is just,
it's a journey.
Yeah, it's a journey. So I think type can indicate the way in which we sort of engage with the faith in some ways, or the way in which we like reach a point where we want to know more about God. So for instance, an F user might just, like an SE like myself, right? I might just look at a sunrise or a sunset and be like, that's so beautiful, there must be an architect, and that's based on my emotional response. Whereas for like an NT, it might be like, okay, everything in this world seems to add up in really specific ways that can't be coincidental, or whatever it is. Like, it might be a more reasonable approach or whatever. But I mean, if you look at, like, I love to look at the Catholic saints as examples. You've got so many different personalities across the Catholic saints, part of the same like spiritualities. So like you've got, I don't know, like St. Thomas Aquinas, who's like one of the greatest intellectuals, right? He was clearly some INTP writing endlessly about theology and philosophy. And then you've got,
Ignatius.
Yeah. And you've got like St. Dominic, who clearly was some like EP, just like the stories about him, you can tell, so easygoing, wrote nothing down. And you've got and then you've got like some St. Catherine of Siena, who liked to stay, like in contemplation away from people. And she, like, I think she might've been some INTJ, and they're all part of the Dominican spirituality.
Yeah. Okay.
And like, there's so many different personalities in the one spirituality. And then you've got, the Carmelites, which is this order where, they're cloistered and they're in contemplation. But you've got Saint Therese of Lisieux, who was, I think, some IF type, and she was very, very reclusive. And then you've got Saint Teresa of Avila, who was like some big boss, like ENTJ type. Like, I could go.
You could go. I can see you could go. You can go.
But like, but like at the end of the day, like, faith is so interior and personalized, and it's a relationship with God. So like, they're all experiencing that in some way. They all reached a point where they were like, okay, to have faith means some level of submission or letting go. And I think that's something that like is really hard for us to do. And a lot of, it's really hard to, I guess, submit. I don't know if that's the right word.
No, I mean, that's, well, it just. Surrender. Yeah.
Surrender.
It's not.
Openness to the divine. Yeah.
I think I wanted to go back to something you said about how each of the, I guess temperament would be a good way to go about it, like how they each interact, because it's really like interaction. Like why would it would be dumb to say that, one type is more prone to be religious. But I think the NT type, like myself, like I went to Catholic school and then I went to college and broke out of all that and like got like really into just like nothing exists or matters, and then slowly realize like, well, sort of how you said, well, like things just fit together in this grand scheme in a way that's like the whole grand chessboard or something, where it's like, well, there is like a universal, in my mind, like symmetry that exists by some grand whatever. And like you intellectually can be like, okay, well, I know that the human mind can't contemplate it. So that's why I believe in magic. Just how like, and I think ENTJs, INTJs would be like, yeah, no, it's just a mystery. Like they've gone up to that level of intellectualism where they know they don't know it. So they're not like, no, you can just like, when weird coincidences happen, they're not like, well, actually that makes sense because this, and this. I'm like, no, you're wrong. Yeah. It is magic.
Yeah. Yes, that's yeah, magic perhaps.
Well, but it's like it's unexplainable.
Yeah,
which is like
that.
It's you have to be okay with that. And I make this argument in business cases, like if we can't measure it, is it real? It's like, well, your faith is like you have faith in something. Believe me,
absolutely.
You do. You have faith in political candidates. Believe me, that's a religion. So God doesn't exist, but this candidate's going to save the world. Okay, I guess I'm wrong. So
yeah. Well,
go ahead.
Like that's why they call it like the leap of faith. Like there's a certain point at which you've got to realize like, okay, it's never going to 100% make sense to me. But if God is real, of course it's not going to 100% make sense to me. There are, it is reasonable to be like, there are things we just can't know in this world.
Yes.
That's reasonable. Like there are things we're not going to be able to explain. To think that you're going to once reach a point in your life where you know or understand everything, or in humanity when there's, so many things we know that are out there that we will never, ever see. It is reasonable to be like, okay, maybe I'm going to accept that I'm not the highest being
form
here, or whatever,
the highest form that exists. Okay. Do you have a favorite book of the Bible, or like a top 3?
Ooh, Job. Job has got to take it.
Okay, I didn't know that. Nice.
Yeah, I love Job. Oh gosh, what a huge question. There's so many. My brain is already.
You only get 3s. You already blew it on.
Oh Job, no! Okay, no. Oh yeah, I'm happy with Job. I'm happy with Job.
You can look at that. Okay.
Actually, if I have it immediately handy so that I don't waste more of your time than I need to waste, there's this kind of like translation, this poetic translation of the Book of Job that I have. Oh, it's stunning. It's like poetic. Just for anyone reading it, listening at home, it's the Book of Job translated into F language.
F language.
It's so poetic. I cried like 7 times reading this. It's stunning.
Oh, that's great. And you can cry too, audience.
Yeah. Yes, you can. And the book of Job, like it's one of those books you just understand and relate to more as you grow older because it's all about suffering.
Nice.
Oh gosh. Okay, next one. It's got to be one of the Gospels, but which one?
My boy Matt.
Did you just name the first one that came to your head?
Or Mark, or Luke, or John.
Yeah. Can I just say all of the Gospels? No, I can't, can I?
Absolutely not. No.
I like them for different reasons.
I'm just
saying, the book of Revelations is so cool.
Okay, that's 2.
No, it's not 2. It's not 2. I wasn't ready for this question.
I know. I didn't tell you. I just thought of it. I was like, this would be a good. It's sort of like just me asking you, like, instead of saying like, what are the best books on faith? I want to know, because you could probably give me that, but I want to know like what within.
Yeah, interesting. Like I appreciate the question. But yeah, love them for different reasons, like Genesis as well, like especially those beginning chapters where you're just kind of like, there's all these poetic links throughout the whole of the text, and it's just amazing. And there's so much meaning. I can't. Joe.
I'm more of, I just, let me, like Corinthians, right?
Corinthians is beautiful. Oh, Romans. Maybe Romans is up there, actually. You know what? I'm not ready to answer this.
Okay.
I can't.
All right.
I can't choose a top 3, but Job is definitely up there.
The audience is extremely disappointed. Okay, so you can comment. You can comment later and be like, update to the question I could not answer It's Job.
Yes, absolutely. Also, just out there with the Gospels, I will say, if you're interested, any of you, Mark is the shortest Gospel, and it's only like 16 chapters long, and you can read that in a couple of hours. I've done it a few times, so
there you go.
That's a reason that I like Mark, just because it's a good one to just get through in a
just when you're needing to pick me up.
yeah, exactly. Gosh. Yeah, no, Job is great.
I'm always fascinated by I'm going to make a connection here. So just
of course you are.
TI users are just what they can do with the depth of knowledge in a field or a niche or many different niches. You're always surprised by how many different fields they know a lot about. Like, how the crap do you know this? But I'm always amazed when people start to talk about the thing that's really passionate to them, and for you it's faith. But I can name some books of the Bible. I went to Catholic school, and some of them were just imprinted in my brain forever. But you know the Bible, and so well, you know the tone of each chapter, and Corinthians is this, and Romans is this, and Hebrews is this. It's that's always impressive to me, even if it's a totally boring subject to me, which religion is not. But it's just so cool how you know that so well. You've studied
I just remembered Psalms.
Psalms.
Man, Psalms.
Oh, man.
Psalms has got to be up there. I can't. Songs. I'm sorry, my brain is
I'm all about songs.
My brain is literally still thinking of an answer. No, 100%. Just want to put it out there. I definitely don't know scripture super well. There's so much to know. And but there's so much depth. So much depth.
It's more about, there's so many little books in the very middle that are 2 or 3 pages long. I'm trying to drop one, but I can't think of one. I'm isn't Songs one? Book of Songs? I don't know.
I don't think so.
I'll have to cut that part out.
The Song of Songs. The Song of
Songs. Yeah, isn't it Song of Songs?
It's called. I need to double check this now because this is embarrassing.
Oh, you know what? I've always been a big Ruth. Huge Ruth.
Google it.
But really, if I'm really serious, it was really Ezra. I can only be honest with you. So my top ones are this. We got Ezra. We got Amos, duh, and we got the 2nd Chronicles. I mean, that's my top. And Revelation. This website doesn't even have Revelations.
Apocalypse, it might be called. They have different names, so, they're called different things. Song of Songs.
This one only had Old Testament. It just went to Old Testament.
Oh, right, yeah, interesting.
Thessalonians.
I was waiting for you to drop didn't even mention Thessalonians. I was waiting for you to drop Leviticus or something, and
Leviticus,
I was going to absolutely call you out on that.
Maccabees. Those are. Man, I love Maccabees.
Love that. I actually do love Maccabees. Are you on a Catholic website?
More.
Why? Why is that, Joe?
Well, let me tell you why. Because in response to the rebellion of Joachim of Judah in 601, Nebuchadnezzar, I mean, you know the rest.
You're giving me a plot summary.
Okay, no, I'm really not trying to poo-poo religion, but all I'm trying to say is that you know each of these, which I think is such a it's a testament to how long you've been studying it, where you can be
yeah.
I mean, I bet could you name them in order?
Oh, no. Okay. No. And if I tried to name them now, I would forget them. I would forget some. There were times when especially those times where I was okay, I'm really going from page to page with the Bible. I had to, for some of my courses in theology, cover to cover, that's what I meant. For my courses in theology, I had to knock out the entirety of Genesis and Exodus in, a few weeks, which is a lot. But when you're reading it cover to cover like that, there's so much in there, you just forget. But yeah, gosh, I wish I had time to read more scripture.
If you have this faith and this faith teaches you to basically the golden rule and love everyone as yourself, then you have to be accepting of the types. Like, okay, you're an INTJ, and everyone thinks like everyone wants to be INTJ or NT types. Those are the best. Like that's the wrong. Like that you cannot mash those. You cannot mix those two together. Like you couldn't be like Catholic and then say INTJs are the best.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think in the same way that I really spread this idea of types being compatible, like all types being compatible if they just endeavor to understand each other and their functions and preferences. All types are compatible with faith, because God created those preferences and your personalities, which are 100% beautiful at their core. And yeah, if we are striving to be our most us version of ourselves, we are just like, our cognitive functions will become more clear, like our personalities will shine through, but we'll also be seeking virtue and goodness. And that's like, you can grow in virtue and goodness and become more your type as well. You know, you see those really healthy versions of people who you can tell what their type is, but they're so wonderful. Like, you know, like yourself, Joe.
That's not, I got plenty of growing to go. Are you kidding me?
You are, you're wonderful.
Yeah. And dear Kristen, I thank you for being courageous and coming on and being vulnerable, telling like the audience about your faith. And I think it was a very fun, and it actually got funnier than I thought it was going to get. But I hope that like people are like kind of use an example to be like, you know, you can do this thing and still have a faith and not have to hide like a large part, like a huge part of yourself online. Because you do it. And then I think that FI authenticity that you were talking about, and like you said, we had the cross behind you. Like, I know this is just me. I gotta do it. I gotta like leave that.
100%.
Comes across in your videos, and just turns the authenticity and engaging with your audience, and just being positive, like a positive force in the MBTI universe. You're living the faith, I guess is what they would say.
No, yeah, thanks. I'm glad I was able to talk about this on your channel, because I'm a huge fan of yours. You know that. And hey, everyone in the comments, leave your thoughts and your reviews on Joe's favorite Bible books.
Yeah,
Ezra,
Leviticus, and Maccabees. Either of the Corinthians are good with me too. But no, you owe me. So audience, also, if dear Kristen doesn't tell the rest of her, she had Job, and that was it. She has 2 more.
True. True. I don't know if I can do it.
You can do it. But in the meantime, everyone needs to subscribe to dear Kristen. Since the first time I interviewed her, I had like 3,000 subscribers. Are you at 39? What are you at now?
30. Let me have a look. I think 35-ish.
38, right?
I think it's 35, Joe.
No.
Yep, 35.3.
That's what I said. Yep. Kristen, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
Bye.
Bye.
I tried to live without you. Just can't go.